Either or by Soren Kierkegaard. Preface. Dear reader, I wonder if you may not sometimes have felt inclined to doubt aloud the correctness of the familiar philosophic maxim that the external is the internal, and the internal the external. For my part, I have always been heroically minded on this point in philosophy, and have therefore only accustomed myself as far as possible to institute observations and inquiries concerning it. I have sought guidance from those authors whose views I shared on this matter. In short, I have done everything in my power to remedy the deficiency in the philosophical works. Gradually, the science of hearing came to be my favorite science, for just as the voice is the revelation of the inwardness, incommensurable is the outer, so the ear is the instrument by which this inwardness is apprehended. Hearing found a contradiction between what I saw and what I heard. Then I found my doubt confirmed, and my enthusiasm for the investigation stimulated. These papers contain a number of attempts to formulate an aesthetic philosophy of life. A single coherent aesthetic view of life can scarcely be carried out. These papers contain an ethical view of life. As I let this thought sink into my soul, it became clear to me that I might make use of it in choosing a title. The one I have selected precisely expresses this. The reader cannot lose very much because of this title, for while reading the book, he may perfectly well forget the title. Then, when he has read the book, he may perhaps reflect upon the title. This will free him from all finite questions as to whether A was really convinced of his error and repented, whether B conquered, or if it perhaps ended by B going over to A's opinion. In this respect, these papers have no ending. These papers have afforded me an insight into the lives of two men, which has confirmed my hunch that the external is not the internal. This was especially true about one of them. His external mode of life has been in complete contradiction to his inner life. The same was true, to a certain extent, with the other also, inasmuch as he concealed a more significant inwardness under a somewhat commonplace exterior. Diapsalmata. What is a poet? An unhappy man who conceals profound anguish in his heart, but whose lips are so fashioned that when sighs and groans pass over them, they sound like beautiful music. People flock about the poet and say to him, "Do sing again," which means, "Would that new sufferings tormented your soul, and would that your lips stayed fashioned as before, for your cries would only terrify us, but your music is delightful." And the Greeks join them, saying, "Well done! This must it be according to the laws of aesthetics." Why, to be sure, a Greek resembles a poet as one another, the only difference being that he has no anguish in his heart and no music on his lips. Behold, therefore, would I rather be a swineherd on Amagar and be understood by the swine than a poet and misunderstood by men. I feel like a piece in a game of chess when my opponent says of it, "That piece cannot be moved." In addition to my numerous other acquaintances, I have still one more intimate friend, my melancholy. In the midst of pleasure, in the midst of work, he beckons to me, calls me aside, even though I remain present bodily. My melancholy is the most faithful sweetheart I have had. No wonder that I return their love. Of all ridiculous things, the most ridiculous seems to me to be busy. To be a man who is brisk about his food and his work. Therefore, whenever I see a fly settling in the decisive moment on the nose of such a person of affairs, or if he is spattered with mud from a carriage which drives past him in still greater haste, or the drawbridge opens up before him, or a tile falls down and knocks him dead, then I laugh heartily. Let others complain that the age is wicked. My complaint is that it is paltry, for it lacks passion. Men's thoughts are thin and flimsy like lace. They are themselves pitiable like the lace makers. The sorts of their hearts are too paltry to be sinful. For a worm, it might be regarded as a sin to harbor such thoughts, but not for a being made in the image of God. Their lusts are dull and sluggish, their passions sleepy. They do their duty, these shopkeeping souls, but they clip the coin a trifle, like the Jews. They think that even if the Lord keeps ever so careful a set of books, they may still cheat him a little. Out upon them! This is the reason my soul always turns back to the Old Testament and to Shakespeare. I feel that those who speak there are at least human beings. They hate, they love, They murder their enemies and curse their descendants throughout all generations. They said, "When I was young, I forgot how to laugh in the cave of Trophonius. When I was older, I opened my eyes and behold reality, at which I began to laugh, and since then I have not stopped laughing. I saw that the meaning of life was to secure a livelihood, and that its goal was to attain a high position. That love's rich dream was marriage with an heiress. That friendship's blessing was help in financial difficulties. That wisdom was what the majority assumed it to be. That enthusiasm consisted in making a speech. That it was courage to risk the loss of $10. That kindness consisted in saying, 'You are welcome,' at the dinner table. That piety consisted in going to communion once a year. This I saw, and I laughed. A strange thing happened to me in my dream. I was wrapped in the seventh heaven. There sat all the gods assembled. As a special dispensation, I was granted the favor to have one wish. 'Do you wish for youth,' said Mercury, 'or for beauty, or power, or long life? Or do you wish for the most beautiful woman, or any other of the many fine things we have in our treasure trove? Choose but only one thing.' For a moment I was at a loss. Then I addressed the gods in this wise: 'Most honorable contemporaries, I choose one thing, that I may always have the laughs on my side.' Not one god made an answer, but all began to laugh. From this I concluded that my wish had been granted, and thought that the gods knew how to express themselves with good taste. For it would surely have been inappropriate to answer gravely, 'Your wish has been granted.' Most men pursue pleasure with such breathless haste that they hurry past it. Old age realizes the dreams of youth. Look at Dean Swift. In his youth, he built an asylum for the insane. In his old age, he was himself an inmate. How absurd men are! They never use the liberties they have. They demand those they do not have. They have freedom of thought. They demand freedom of speech. There are, as is known, insects that die in the moment of fertilization. So it is with all joy. Life's highest, most splendid moment of enjoyment is accompanied by death. A fire broke out backstage in the theater. The clown came out to warn the public. They thought it was a joke and applauded. He repeated it, and the acclaim was even greater. I think that's just how the world will come to an end, to the general applause of wits who believe it's a joke. If you marry, you will regret it. If you do not marry, you will also regret it. If you marry or do not marry, you will regret both. Laugh at the world's follies. You will regret it. Weep over them. You will also regret that. laugh at the world's follies, or weep over them, you will regret both. Whether you laugh at the world's follies or weep over them, you will regret both. Believe a woman, you'll regret it. Believe her not, you also regret that. Believe a woman or believe her not, you'll regret both. Whether you believe a woman or believe her not, you'll regret both. Hang yourself, you'll regret it. Do not hang yourself, and you will also regret that. Hang yourself or do not hang yourself, you will regret both. Whether you hang yourself or do not hang yourself, you will regret both. This, gentlemen, is the sum and substance of all philosophy. An ecstatic lecture.